What up? T-Bob here.
And Jake as well.
And look at you. You done stumbled upon little OTB Saints, where we bring you all the latest black and gold coverage.
Who are the Saints going to draft? Who's going to be their quarterback? What does the salary cap look like? All that information and more.
Hope you enjoy it. Like, subscribe. Every single Tuesday, hour 3, we are joined by the man who started neworleans.football. I believe it's the best Saints resource out there. There's a ton of great Saints work out there, guys. But, you know, I've been a proud New Orleans football subscriber for years now. You should check it out as well. Let's talk to our guy, Nick Underhill, at Nick_Underhill on Twitter. Nick, what's up, man? How about it, bro? I mean, the Saints are back.
Yeah, no question about it. I mean, that was kind of unbelievable. I was not expecting to see that game, but the more and more we kind of unravel the mystery of who Clint Kubiak is, kind of the better and better it gets. And it's one thing to have a playbook and to be able to call plays. It's another thing to be able to kind of coach your talent and hide your deficiencies. And, you know, I think that's kind of what can separate good from great. I'm not saying Kubiak's great yet, but I'm saying he's definitely off to a great start. And I don't think they could be playing better than they are right now.
No, they couldn't. And you watch this film closer than I have. I spend most of my time chopping up college film. I just kind of watch the Saints as it happens. How much of this Saints success here early on would you attribute to scheme, right? Judging against last year and Carmichael now into this year, how much of this is Kubiak just putting these guys in better positions?
Yeah, I mean, look, what we saw in the preseason wasn't fake. They have deficiencies on their offensive line, and if you put those guys in isolated situations where you're asking them to block on what it was only 16 dropbacks, so
I know that's crazy to think about. Only 16. I read that this morning in your article, and I was kind of mind blown.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. But if you're just asking them to block Parsons and Tank Lawrence straight up on 16 plays, like you're probably asking for disaster. So they just didn't do that. And there were only 3 plays in this whole entire game where there wasn't a play action or help in some form or fashion where Fuaga or Trevor Penning had to block Micah Parsons. And on all 3 of those snaps, they lost. Like they did not hold up 100% on those plays. Carr got the ball out quick enough so it didn't matter. It didn't result in a sack. But what they were doing in this game is they were just kind of sending a wave of guys at Parsons no matter where he lined up. And it might be starting with one tight end over there, motioning another over to kind of send one guy. Then if he beats him, there's Foster Moreau right behind to give the second level of blocking. Now you're having to clear 2 hurdles before you can get to Derek Carr, and that's going to give you the requisite, 3 seconds that you need to get a pass off and read the field. And, if it wasn't that, it was a tight end and a running back, or, it was some form or fashion of where there were 2 people coming at him on every single play. And most of the time it was not one of the offensive linemen. So now you have 5 guys to handle everybody else. And it was an amazing plan. Like, what you don't have on the offensive line. So you say, okay, we aren't going to rely on the offensive line to win this matchup. We have to win to have a chance to win this game. And, it was just brilliant. Like, I was watching it and I couldn't believe how smart it looked. And it's just kind of, you see these things and the best ideas are obvious are usually ones that you're like, damn, that's so obvious. Like somebody should have thought of that. Or that's how you should always do that. There's a lot of other stuff we see happening, but nobody else was doing it before. And, it's unbelievable to watch, honestly.
Just a little schematic follow-up, Nick. When they're holding guys in to help block guys like Parsons, how do you find that they're still scheming up routes with like limited numbers to have success?
So, I mean, this whole game, they only played 6 snaps with 3 receivers on the field. Last week, 3 receivers was their most common personnel grouping. I think it was like 25, 26 snaps last week. This week it was 6. You're only throwing the ball 16 times in a game. You're kind of setting up to just win by running. But when you're out there like that, I mean, it's a lot of 2-man routes and then somebody coming out of the backfield. So you kind of just have 3 reads on these plays, and they hit the 39-yarder to Olave. It was just kind of this very common Shanahan type route where there's kind of a clear out or a deep post and then a deep over route. And you either hit one or the other. On that one, they hit the deep over. That was Olave. They got 39 yards. Next play, they come back to it. It's a 70-yarder to Rashid. And I actually think there was like a 19-yarder, the first completion of the game. Same concept, but ran a little bit shallower. So, like, they're just kind of playing the hits here. And, it was interesting because they got single high on the first two. The third one, like, you probably shouldn't hit that post. Like, you probably shouldn't be able to get over the top of a two-man shell, but Shaheed beat it. And, Derek Carr reminds us every now and then of how great his arm is, and he got that down the field. And, that's kind of how they're going about it. The one thing I love about the play action, though, and that was a play action pass, obviously, I think that kind of sets Derek up to have to kind of go hunting for explosive plays. And I think he's kind of somebody throughout his career in certain types of schemes where maybe he holds the ball a little too long. He's a little bit reluctant to pull the trigger. He isn't always using that great arm to go down the field and kind of get those. Like, this scheme kind of sets you up to where you're hunting for those plays a little bit. And he's done a great job of that. But yeah, I mean, everything's just so well designed, man. Like, you don't have to have five guys out in the route concept to get someone open. You can send, two and have a check down, and that's kind of how they approach this game.
I thought the biggest endorsement of what y'all are talking about is that Micah Parsons kind of came out and was like, look, they did a good job. They never really allowed me to just go straight to the quarterback. Like, he felt like, I think the quote was, I felt like I was going through a maze every time I was trying to get to Derek Carr. And that's somebody that does it at an incredibly high level. Yes. And because that's one of the best rushers we have in the NFL. And he's like, look, they did a really nice job. Like, I couldn't ever just go straight to the quarterback. And if you can get that done along with your kind of terrifying defenses, because Rashid Shaheed, his speed just kind of takes the top off of it. And you feel like even if we don't have a lot of guys out en route, we can still, hit you for a chunk play. Like, that's a big, gold star if Micah Parsons is saying that about your offense.
No doubt about it. I mean, the one thing I'm worried about is what happens when they are behind in a game, and it is going to happen at some point. You are going to have to do just true drop back and throw passes, and that's going to be tough. But I think at this point we've seen enough with their ability to coach and the players' ability to execute the plan that I'm not really worried about the offensive line anymore. I think they're going to be in more favorable situations than disfavorable situations, and I would be surprised if this isn't a 10-win team now. Like, I think they've raised the bar to that level. And just to the greater point of the offense, I think this team, and the Saints are obviously not the first team to do it, but I think it's kind of that next evolution of where football is post kind of the spread it out and everything. Like, there's always going to be a correction to that. Okay, offenses spread it out, so now defenses get lighter and everybody gets rangier to keep up with that. And now that everybody's lighter and rangier, you aren't going to go back to smash mouth football, but I think it is more about how do you run the ball, how do you attack all the space, how do you take advantage of some of these smaller people? And that's kind of what they're doing here. And, teams are capping the top of the field now with two safeties on every play, and you aren't supposed to be able to get deep like that. But Shaheed has the ability to take the top off even when there's two guys back there. You're kind of in a screwed situation here, like where if a team's running the ball, you want to creep one of those safeties down to kind of get another guy in the box. If you do that, he's going to take the top off. If you don't do that, he's still going to take the top off. Like, they kind of have a really nice explosive setup here, like on the ground and through the air, where it kind of puts defenses in a catch-22. And honestly, like, I don't know that Philadelphia has the safeties to keep up with them next week. I actually like that matchup better now. I was kind of looking at it when the schedule came out and I was like, damn, how are they going to do this? So, like, now that you're seeing, like, Philly looks like an imminently beatable team. Yeah. Obviously they lost last night. Terrible call to throw the ball to Saquon on third down. But
so terrible. So you disagree with the call inherently, not just the execution?
I mean, you just gotta run down the clock there. Like,
yeah,
they scored with 34 seconds.
No, yeah, for sure.
You run a play that takes 40 seconds off the clock. Like, it at least makes it a little bit harder. Like, I wouldn't have thrown the ball there.
It's funny. It's like, I was thinking about it, and it's not even just like the functional time difference, but if you're the Falcons, because you could see they felt very composed the entire drive because they weren't really that hurried, right? Like, the mental difference that it would have been absolutely massive. The Falcons season on the brink, and they somehow find a way out of it. Nick, are we comfortable calling Rashid Shaheed the NFL's second best deep threat to Tyreek Hill?
He's in the conversation, right? He has to be. Like,
I mean, he has the numbers, right? Like, he has more. What is it? Is it over 30 or over 40? It's like more than anybody else except for Hill.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I called him that in a story I wrote the other day, and like, I don't know if that's like overstating it a little bit, but he's definitely within that conversation. I mean, and especially if they keep doing this and they keep featuring him and he keeps making plays, like I think obviously he's in that conversation. He's somebody that I think on that Tuesday meeting when you're going through like how do we stop these guys,
yeah.
like I think he's someone you have to worry about at this point. So yeah, I'd put him there for sure. Look, one other quick thing on that Philly game too, like somebody smarter than me someday is going to have to explain why prevent defense is the way to go at the end of the game. Like we're just going to give the other team the first 80 yards of the field and then say we're going to play real defense the last 20 so we don't give up an explosive. Like I don't understand why I would rather lose putting up a fight than lose trying not to lose. Like I never understand it.
It's a good call. Nick, we know that the O-line is still, as pass blockers go, they're still flawed in some ways, but the run blocking this year feels like it's been just pretty objectively badass through 2 games. I mean, the Baldinger breakdowns on Taliesin Fuanga, Penning's playing nasty. What has your film review told you about the offensive line in that regard?
They look really good. I thought Lucas Patrick had a great game.
Yeah,
he did.
This one.
The block on over shown on the touchdown was nasty.
Yeah, they look great across the board, and a lot of panic about Penning or whatever. Like he is nasty in the run game. I don't think he's perfect out there, but he's nasty. He's fast. He gets out there. I think he's going to keep getting better every week in it. I mean, you see the vision there. I mean, those guys they're leading the way like 100%. I mean, Cesar Ruiz at 17 miles per hour running down the field on the Camara screen. I mean, like these guys. You just watch how much they're running. I did a story last week, like just looking at it, breaking it down, how many like actual yards they're logging in a game running, and it was like 100 more yards than the average last year in week 1. I'm sure this week like the numbers up there more, but like they've spent like the big fast guys up front. Like I think it pays off in this scheme. Like you're playing in space and you got guys that are just objectively rangy. It shows up. I mean, and look, there's stuff on this film like you go through it like. They're messing up some of the stuff with the execution. Like there's even more yards out there. Like they aren't playing a perfect game yet, and I think they're going to keep getting better at it. They're obviously well coached. I'm a believer. Like I had a lot of doubts coming in. I was holding steady at 9 wins, but like by the end of camp, like my confidence on it was wavering a little bit just because of the line. And with the ability to coach around it and the run blocking, like I'm confident in this team. Like I believe what I'm seeing.
Did you expect Will Harris to play this much on defense? I mean, he played 70 snaps. I think he actually led the defense on Sunday. Like, I know that you made some moves at the safety position, and we were wondering because of the preseason with Jordan Howden out there with the twos, what the plan was. But did you expect Will Harris to go out there and lead the team in snaps played?
No, I mean, I didn't. I mean, they rotated through it with Howden, him, and Abram, and I kind of always thought at the end of it they were going to end up going back to Howden. I thought they were just kind of trying to challenge him, and obviously it didn't seem like they were happy with the result because he never took that job back in camp. But I thought it would maybe be something where they would mix and match it, maybe bring Abram up from the practice squad, use him on like running downs, and maybe have Harris and Howden out there in passing situations. Dime, one of them being the dime player. I didn't expect it, but he played good, man. He had a really good game.
Yeah.
I think he had 2 PBUs. I'm not, previously, like he had some shaky stuff in his old film. Maybe it's better in this scheme. They run something similar in Detroit, but so far he's off to a good start. And, I think they do a really good job of coaching those guys up. So maybe, with time he keeps getting better. But yeah, I definitely was not expecting him to come out and be like the 100% snot guy at that other position. Like it wasn't something that I was expecting.
Wow, just amazing black and gold takes right there, Jake.
I don't think I've ever heard any takes that are better than the 2 guys that just gave you that take.
And you can keep getting them by going ahead and liking, subscribing, ringing the bell to get notifications when we post. Have a great day. We'll see you on the next OTB Saints.